Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the I Dare You to Love challenge. So I'm Samantha Ditzel. I am your host for this 15-day February Love Challenge. And I'm so happy to be with you. I am learning so much. So for that, I thank you, because if it wasn't for doing this broadcast, I probably wouldn't have been studying love as much as I have been over the last couple weeks. So thank you for just giving me the opportunity to grow and to learn. So welcome. And today I have the privilege of introducing a dear friend of mine who I met, gosh, how long ago did I meet Tanya? I think I met maybe almost 2 years ago, maybe. I've known this incredible woman who you are going to just enjoy to the utmost. She is Tanya J. Williams, and she's our friendly faith instigator. So you're going to get to hear a little bit more about what a friendly faith instigator is. She's actually the host of the Be the Burning podcast. And I got to be honest, some of her I did a little binging listening to the podcast, and just I felt like I was on a cloud of wisdom being just poured into my soul. That's the only way I can describe her podcast, Be the Burning One. And she's a burning one. And so she's she's our friendly faith instigator, which I love. And she also said she was our hope dealer she was my hope dealer. And I thought that must be the gangster version of Tanya. And you'll get to see what I mean by that but Tanya, right? So let's see. Let me see if I can add you. Here we go. So welcome, Tanya Williams, Tanya J. Williams, my faith instigator.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you, because I really did binge some of your podcast since you gave me the information. And let me tell you one other thing about Tanya. She actually is an author. She recently published a prayer journal, which is incredible. I might be able to I think I can drop this link in here. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to be able to, I think I can drop this. If you go to tanyawilliams.gumroom.com, you can actually see her work, and it's basically reflections, and it's a prayer journal. And so I took the liberty to do this myself. So I just want to tell you, I read this morning, being my day one. I'm going to read it to you. Is that okay, Tanya, that I just read this little excerpt of one of your prayer journals? Because it really touched my heart, and I just want to kind of frame this. Would that be okay?
Yeah, okay, I love it. Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, no, I really feel like this will bless others as it blessed me. So her day one, just read, and it's a prayer, right? It's something that I just centered myself in this morning when I was just going through my devotions. And it reads, I bless your name today, Lord. Thank you. Thank you for your spirit. Thank you for the breath in my lungs. Thank you for peace. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for grace. Thank you for the want to in my spirit. The want to walk blameless before you. The want to follow the way of love and eagerly desire all of the Spirit. Yes, Lord, the want to. Holy Spirit, guide me into all truth so that I won't be lacking or unproductive in my knowledge of you. Amen. And that's the verses she gave us to meditate are 2 Peter 1:8 and Deuteronomy 18:13. And I read that this morning, and I was like, wow, it really is the want to. Why are we doing a love challenge? Why are we doing a love challenge? And it's because we have this desire. We have a desire to be like our Creator. We're made in an image, and God is love, right? So to study love, it really is thanking Him for I don't know that I always wanted to be love. I was just not aware in that way. And so it is true. Thank you for the want to and the desire that you've given us to study love and to become more like love, and you are love. So with that, Tanya is going to share, and we're going to kind of converse. We're just going to have a little time talking about the fourth attribute, and that is love does not brag or boast. Love doesn't boast or brag. And so, Tanya, what wisdom can you shed? What insight can we talk about on that attribute?
Well, brag is such an interesting word, and boast, because what is it? Basically, it's excessive pride in oneself, a pompous, boastful statement. And so we're talking about God. God is love. And of course, we are like God. I'm certain you've probably talked about replacing our names in there. Tanya does not boast. Samantha is patient. Samantha is kind. Samantha doesn't boast. And so one of the things that I found very interesting about that, and as you read the whole chapter, boast, there's a sound associated with it. When we say love is kind, I mean, kindness can look like a lot of things, but to boast about something or to brag about something, there's typically some enunciation, some sound that goes with it. And so I also thought about, well, what's the motive behind bragging? So in the natural, people brag because of what? They want to make someone feel smaller, or they want to make themselves look bigger. What's the motive? Is it to hurt or harm? Is it out of insecurity? Do people brag out of insecurity? Let me tell you what I did. I did this marvelous thing, and to bring this attention to themselves. But love doesn't have a need to do that. God doesn't have a need to do that because it's attractive on its own. It made me think about, and I'm not sure exactly how I got there, but when we talk about the kingdom and a good king, which we have, a good king, his people are at peace. His people and his dominion are healthy and healthy. The people are, and the kingdom itself is influential. And so the countries around it, they're not tooting their own horn saying, hey, we are, the top kingdom here in the land. No, people are noticing. Other countries are coming and trading and doing business with them, and they're saying, wow, this is amazing. They treated us so well. No, the products here are so wonderful, and the people are so friendly, and the streets are so clean. And so somehow I got that in terms of a nation doesn't have to boast because it's attractive. God doesn't have to boast. We don't have to boast if we are secure. Again, love builds, love elevates, love expands. And in my mind, boasting is the opposite of that. It hinders, it demotes, it deflates the spirit. And that's not what God did. That's not who God is. And so that's kind of where I landed initially.
I love that. No, I love that, because if we are to boast, we're to boast in Him, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like it's sort of a posture of our heart, right? You can check your heart. We know when we're trying to make a point there, which would be, and I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but in times, I don't know that even unintentionally boasting, it was ever to bring other people down in my experience. However, it definitely could have been to elevate, right? And when you're trying to elevate it yourself, it's because you don't know who you are, right? The true identity of a daughter of the king has no need to elevate above others because she just is, right? And so again, it's the hot heart posture. If you know your identity and you know that you don't need, because I like, whether they say your love language, what are your love language? Well, my love language, it occurred when I would do silly tests, is like words of affirmation. I crave affirmation. Well, why? Actually, I'm actually just having revelation right now. Why am I craving affirmation? Why do I need to be appreciated or feel the need? If you've ever felt the need to be acknowledged, appreciated, then that just shows you that it's a posture of our heart. And it's not that you intentionally brag or boast even, but just that there's the need to be noticed. There's a need. And that's sort of coming from that poverty orphan mindset, right? Now that I'm thinking of it, right? Like where we
I would
just,
say so.
yeah. And so when you know who you are and you can rest in that, daughter, there's no need to boast or brag, and you are slowly becoming more like love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and again, these are things I'm finding, that these are things that maybe I would have just done without even thinking, not intentionally trying to diminish anything, but like more so just we're needing to retrain our thoughts. And why are we speaking? Like a check in your spirit. Why was I just about to say that? Was that going to up? Maybe it didn't even. But would it appear like we're bragging or we're boastful? So then maybe it's just better to just live
There
and
you go.
be.
There you go. I would say so.
It's
You
interesting.
know, when I thought about again, and at what point or how many times did we see God speaking? And I was just going through the New Testament in particular, and he spoke over his son. This is my son in whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him. Now, was that so much a boast or just a declaration, a proclamation type thing? But as I said, it just made me think about, where do we boast and why? I mean, we boast in him, boast that we know him and that we are known by him, but that's it, because everybody is known by him and everybody has that opportunity. So it's not as though there's zero superiority or elevation. Again, if, as you said, the awareness, if you know who you are, then that means you can be aware of the one that's in front of you as your brother and sister in Christ, who has exactly the same value,
Yeah.
exactly the same power, all the things that you are and have, that's who they are and have as well. And so, but again, is boasting come out of any type of insecurity, which points to fear? And so that led me to 1 John chapter 4, verse 18. You know, there's no fear in love, because perfect
Mm.
love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. That's it. If you got someone who's insecure, boasting about their awesomeness and thinking that they've
Yeah.
done all the things, it's, they just don't, they haven't been perfected by love. They haven't had that encounter just yet. And so, and then so for ourselves, like you said, when we have this desire rise up to want to, like, let me take, oh, wait a minute. And that
Mm.
check, okay, I'm being perfected in love. Never mind. I won't tell you
Mm.
about that right now. So
Yeah. That's so true. And not to be harsh, but what came to my mind is sometimes people can't appreciate where you are because of, even like you said, they haven't been perfected, they don't know quite who they are yet. So you sharing an exciting thing like that
yeah.
could hinder their, oh, here she is again, oh, there's so much to learn about love, about being love, and yeah, evolving into. I think that the word that came to my mind, well, I was thinking of Joseph. Remember Joseph, the son with the coat of many colors, right? And his
Mm.
brothers hated him, right? It says in the word, they had hate for this brother. And I can just picture him like parading around, like, look at this goat, the daddy got me. You know what I mean? Right? It was just bold and extravagant. And the brothers hated him for that. But he maybe hadn't been perfected in love at that moment because, what we know the story, he had the dreams And he told them their dreams. And I don't know if I'd have the guts to say, by the way, I had this dream and I was a shaft of wheat and you were all shafts of wheat and you were bowing down to my shaft. And I'm thinking, how in the world? But again, it's the maturity, the immaturity, right? And so not being perfected in love, not knowing who we are, not feeling the no need to be significant because I already know who I am. And that just takes time, which goes back to day one. Love is patient. So we get to be patient and love people, whatever, at whatever current revelation they're in. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful. Do you see how beautiful this is?
it is. And I love that it came out of your mouth that we get to. Therein lies the key. We get to. I think people think that I have to conjure up out of myself this love to get, I gotta love you more. Okay, whew, okay, I'm gonna love you. No, we get to. Because again, we've received so much. So it's not as though we're giving out of our own strength. We're not giving out of our own anything. It's out of the overflow.
Yeah.
It's the overflow.
Yeah.
So you're full. You're never without. It's just, oh, I'm going to splash a little bit of this goodness on you. And because it's more than just a little bit, that constant flow into you now has produced a river. And so there you go. You're just, yeah,
I love that.
loving on people. And it's good. But the get to.
It is.
The get
And
to.
once the get to is everything. The get to is everything because most human beings, when you're told you must do something, the first thing we do is resist because I don't want anyone telling me what I have to do. Right. And so being able to have that shift of, oh, look at this. I actually get to love. There's a song, I Get to Love You. I love it. And it's such a great version of, wow, I get to love you. Because let me tell you, I don't know about you, Tanya, but I'm not always that lovable. When I'm walking in my flesh, when the body part of me takes over, I'm not always that lovable. And so we get to love others as we're all growing in what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a privilege, and I guess just going back to that we're made in his image and his likeness, and not just made, it's cut out of. We were birthed out of God. So he's love, and we again get to, it's in our DNA. It's very much a part of who we are, but the awareness, the lack thereof, is what causes so many people to not be able to appreciate the person in front of them. So the selfishness. So I don't want to love them. Okay, but it's not about you. You've received much, freely you give, right? You've received so much, freely give. It's just passing through. It's just passing through. So
good. So good. Yeah. It really is, but it does take practice. It does take sitting with him. It does take getting to know who he says you are and beginning to make that thought belief, right, in your own heart. Because a lot of times when you are boasting or bragging, it goes back to identity. It's that need to feel important. And that just means, yeah.
I was just going to say, to your point, it just made me think about when we're dating and how easily, or maybe not, for some people, you still may not believe when that handsome guy says you're beautiful, or that he loves you, or that he wants to be with you. But at some point, you give in, and you marry him, and you've committed to someone who's imperfect. Why would we not commit to the creator of our soul, the lover of our soul, the creator of all things?
Right.
There's just so much more. I mean, I don't know. I guess I've just been blessed with the gift of faith. And so I believe, I believe. I just assume there is nothing but good in God. And so I have zero to lose. And again, I make my
Well,
boast.
what would you
That's my boast in Him. Go ahead.
in him? But what would you say to someone who like doesn't have that faith today? Doesn't even know what that looks like. Doesn't even like you said, I believe that he's good. Well, okay. All I see around me is whatever I'm seeing around me, right? How would you what would you say to someone like that?
You know, if you look over your life, and you don't have to look that far. I mean, the fact that you're standing, you breathe in, you breathe out. You did it again. You did it last night while you were sleeping.
Mm,
You didn't do that. You had nothing to do with that. Okay. There is a good God that keeps you in your right mind. There's a good God who's providing food for you. There's a good God who sees you. Now, just because you don't know that or don't have full awareness of it doesn't negate his goodness. It never does, it
mm,
never will. And all of us, if we've been on the earth longer than 5 minutes, we've been through something. We came through something hard, came out on the other side, and it was good. May not be the thing that you were expecting, may not be the thing you were hoping for, but if you allow yourself to reflect, you'll see that it was good. You'll see that you were prepared for something beyond that, or even as you before you got to it, and now that you're through it, there was a preparation. There was a favor on you that got you through. And so that, in terms of when you're saying look around and people are looking around and like it doesn't look so good to me, well, that's enemy tactic. Oh look, that fruit over there. Oh, that. Oh, okay. You're not going to die. You're looking around and you might be empathizing, which I get it. You're feeling what's going on around you, but God is good to you. And that's where it starts. Until you know that He is good to you, until you know that
mm,
you are wonderfully loved, until you know that He is faithful to supply all of your needs and beyond, until you know Him, all the stuff around you is going to look hard. It's going to look ugly, but it's about knowing Him. So, as you said, practice. It takes a want to. You got to want to
mm.
want Him. You got to want to know Him. Just like you want to know that cute guy over there. You wanted to know him. I don't want you to. Okay. Got to want to.
Yeah.
You might be thinking about that guy. You want to strategize. How am I going to get that number? Okay. You want to pursue God that way? And it's not really a pursuit because He's right there the whole time, simply waiting. He's waiting on us. He's waiting on you.
Yeah, he's pursuing us. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember a time in my life where, I would profess God, definitely knew of God and loved God from a distance, right? But I didn't want to go too far. I had like my barrier up a little. I didn't want to have to change. I thought that I would have to be a certain way if I gave more of myself to him. And so I didn't really want to change the way I was. I kind of liked me the way I was. And so I sort of resisted that. And for me, it turned into I had an area of desperation in my life when I lost a baby and I was just desperate. And thank God I had my faith. That's what I had. And so I turned to my faith. Like, in fact, and we can come honest with him, right? I was honest, like, this sucks. How can you be good? I'm a good person and this is still happening to me. We all have circumstances in our life that, like you said, I didn't hope for or I wouldn't have chosen. But even in those circumstances, what for me I found was he allowed me to, um, it's like the footprints prayer where he carried me in that time, right? And then because I was desperate and had, I reached out, that's when it was like, okay, accepting the pursuing of him to me. saying, okay, let me just see what this whole faith thing, because I was like, what is faith? I'm here crying, I'm hurt, you know. But even then, even in my, like we talked about it, I guess it was one of these last 3 days where it was like, even in my, he died for me while I was a sinner. Even in my resistance, he still loved me. He was still patient with me and kind to me, right? That's why now my message is, don't wait until something has to happen in your life where you're desperate,
Yes.
because although I'm grateful for that season in my life and it brought me to who I am today, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I would want them to come out of like, wow, he's really amazing. Like you say, let me see if what she said is true while everything's going well. But then again, when everything's going well, a lot of times we're not looking for, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
It's
Well,
interesting.
just as you were saying that, of course, it reminded me of, you don't wish that on anybody. And so when things are going well, if anything, I guess the world can practice gratefulness. They have a concept of that. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for having a car to drive. I'm grateful that I can put gas in my car, you know, and to be childlike, which I guess that's something that the world sometimes has a hard time with, although they think they're having fun, but is it a childlike fun? Is it a childlike, because kids just go all in, and it, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, obviously, when you just see a child happy, that these bubbles are flying all around their head and popping them on the face, and oh, this is so great, and the giggles and being in the moment. And so, can we be in the moment with him? Wow. That's there you go. That's how you practice gratefulness, being in the moment with him. Yay, God, I get to go to the store because I ran out of milk. But thank you that the store is closed, and however it is you need to talk to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're pushing
But
my buttons and speaking my language right now.
well, as you know, I know we've talked about it before, but I live in the ooh. Ooh, God, this is fun. Ooh, 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 ooh. What are we gonna do today? Ooh, who do I get to meet today?
What a great place to live. What a great, because we know that everything's working for us, and that's his promise, so we can hold to it. And maybe it doesn't look like it right now, but we still know he's working. He didn't fall asleep. He's still on the throne, and so having an ooh in life, like, ooh, what are you doing today? That is I actually sent a text message to both of my kids yesterday. This is funny. And I said, one day I'm going to be a really great, and I use the word Uma, which is like a Hebrew word for grandma or something. I don't even know where I got that word, but I'm like, I'm going to be a really great grandma, let's say. I'm finally at 52 years old learning to be like a child.
Yeah.
At 52 years old, I'm finally getting it. I'm finding to live that, where if I see bubbles, you better believe I'm going to be, and I always was stressed and bogged down and feeling like I needed to boast and brag and, feeling like I had to measure up and perform and all of these things, when I instead now realized I don't have to do anything. And the example that I got most recently, another validation, is when Jesus was baptized, right after he came on the scene, he came up from baptism, and you made mention to this verse that God the Father said, below, or here is my son in whom I am well pleased. And so he already acknowledged his son. Jesus hadn't done anything yet. He hadn't done any miracles yet. He hadn't preached yet. He hadn't done anything that by the world standards would have been a great thing, greatness, right? He was just him. And in just being you, God is well pleased. And
Yes.
so when I realized that, it's like, wow, you mean I don't have to strive and prove and measure up to everybody, other people's opinions on what I should be doing and how I should be, living? You mean I just get to be a child and just trust that my dad in heaven, my papa, is just pleased with me regardless? Like,
Yes.
there's like, because I feel like we carry this weight on our shoulders of having to be a certain way. And he's just like, no, you don't need to be anything. I designed you. We're just learning. We're just growing into what that looks like. And only you could ever do it. You don't have to look at that. Yesterday we talked about scrolling and envy. You don't have to look at the social media highlight reels and get depressed, because you can't do that. I don't want you to do that. Your thing is better for you. I love that. I love it.
Yep.
Which is why I didn't write a prayer journal. Right. And which is why when I was listening
not yet. Maybe not yet.
Maybe not. Yeah, not today. But Be the Burning One podcast, I'm listening to it and I'm like, that's why she has this podcast, because there's this element of, I got to put it on here in case people ever want to look at that. There's just this calming soothingness about your voice. And I know you're going to be starting your coaching business, what, next month?
Yes.
And you have a heart for the burning ones, and maybe even the burning ones who don't know, or maybe a better understanding of the fullness. I wrote down, was reading this, like, your heart is to help these women. I don't know if it's women, men, or whoever you're called to serve, to better understand the fullness of their gift and their identity. Because once you get it, you want to give it away. It's like you said, you've been freely given. I want to give it away. You obviously have that. And so you have authority to share with other people. And, I wrote down, there's a difference between living for God, which maybe I have done in the past, and living from God. Oh, like there's the ooh again.
Yes.
That's the fullness. Like, oh, I just get to live from him because I don't have to do anything. He already loves me.
Yes.
I just need to learn. And so when you know that, you're like, I don't want to brag or boast. I don't want to diminish anyone, because they're just as important and valuable as me. Even though in the past I've joked, I'm his favorite. But
well, it's true. That is true. Exactly. I am the most favorite Tanya J. Williams of the Lord ever.
There it is. And absolutely. That is the truth. And when you said that, I wasn't feeling, and there's a difference. Again, it's a heart posture. I wasn't feeling that you were bragging. It was just fact. Because our boast is in him. Our boasting is in him. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I will say too, just, of course, we're not responsible for the way people hear, because what they hear, again, did they hear a boast? Hear, oh, wow, she's loved. I'm like, oh, that must be an awesome relationship she has. I want to know more about that. So, but again, when we're speaking from him, ideally they're hearing him anyhow. But when Jesus spoke from him, obviously he ruffled some feathers. Some people didn't want to hear, or just it was misconstrued, misunderstood. And so,
and construed as like offensive, when really it's the farthest thing offensive. It's just truth, right? Sometimes we just don't want to, we want to resist in our flesh. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Not everybody can receive love. So they can. I'm sorry. They can. They just make the choice. So
there it is. There it is. Choose not to. Well, with that, I do appreciate you so very much. Thank you for just sharing you with us today. And you have anything you want to close us out with, or anything? Oh, did you freeze? It might be what happened there. I think you froze. Well, okay. Well, look at that timing. Perfect timing to freeze. Once again, thank you so much for joining on the Dare You to Love Challenge. I hope you are getting so much out of this. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about love is not proud. So we talked about boasting and bragging. And then tomorrow, we're going to touch a little bit on pride and what that is compared to love. So Samantha Ditzel here, signing off. Have an amazing afternoon, and God bless you.